We now have a full trailer for the second season of the current era of Doctor Who, and I think it hints at a few things, including Belinda's story arc for the season, who our latest godlike entity is for the Doctor to face, and some snippets from the season finale. So in this video, I'll be doing one of those shot-by-shot breakdown things to tease out everything we learnt in this trailer.
So what's your name?
Just the Doctor.
Alright then. I'm called the nurse.
Welcome to Culture Filter, the channel where I, Phil, talk about the geeky pop culture that I like and consume, quite often about Doctor Who. So if you like Doctor Who news, reviews, lore videos, and more, then do click subscribe down below. Now, onto the trailer. We start with new companion Belinda being woken up by a strange light at her window, goes over to have a look, and then we get a shot of a rocket ship taking off from a back garden, from the point of view of the rocket. It seems like an ordinary suburban British house. Was it Belinda's house? Is Belinda on that rocket? Has she just been abducted, perhaps? And if so, for what reason? And does it relate to why the Doctor can't seem to take her home, as indicated in the Disney Plus blurb? Lots of questions already poised by even this opening few shots of the trailer. This could be the bridge of that rocket ship. It has that same kind of retro 50s sci-fi vibe to it. And it also relates to a clip we get a bit later on as well, which also makes me think this is that.
There are forces beyond this universe.
Throughout this, the voiceover from the Doctor's talking about there being forces beyond this universe, presumably referring to the pantheon, of which the Toymaker and Maestro are members, possibly a new one of which we'll meet this season. All of the Doctor's voiceovers in this trailer, combined with the choice of clips, add to a kind of much more darker tone than last year's seemed to feel, which personally I think is a positive move. Then we move from retro sci-fi to kind of hardcore sci-fi. These guys look like they mean business. They look like some kind of tough military outfit. Are they the good guys? Are they the bad guys? Who knows? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Either way, it looks like Belinda, and as we'll see later on in the trailer, the Doctor have possibly infiltrated them. This looks like it could be a close-up of the giant spider creature we see later on in the trailer. Kind of looks partly mechanical there, with the metal and rivets on its leg joints, or that maybe could be some kind of armor, I guess, instead. It also looks like its location is in a place full of spiderweb-like structures in the background. And are they missiles being fired at it in that background too? Is it under attack? Or are they people's, for want of a better word, souls being consumed or absorbed by the creature? There's a shot later on in the trailer that lends me to think this is a possibility. Here we've got Kate Stewart, at least I think it's her, walking down a long corridor that looks like some kind of lockup or prison. Is this a unit holding facility of some kind, perhaps? If so, what are they holding? 15 looking very dapper in his pinstripe suit and bowler hat here. And then we get a skeleton of some kind of creature walking above a row of houses. This feels like it could have kind of season finale stakes vibes, possibly. This scene we already know from the teaser trailer of the Doctor experiencing some kind of distortion within the TARDIS. Could this be him experiencing the history of the universe being reshaped, perhaps? The voiceover around this bit might also imply that reality is being reshaped as well. Mel Bush is back, yay! This might also be the reality being reshaped around her, with the houses kind of collapsing and disappearing amongst themselves and the purple sky. This also has season finale vibes here, and the houses, if you look at the tops of them, do look like they might be the same ones from the giant walking skeleton clips. Belinda and the Doctor here introducing themselves to each other, so this must be from the first episode, possibly after he has helped her escape from her, maybe abduction. He looks like he may have set up some kind of temporary workstation or base in an underground structure. Maybe they're working here against some kind of authoritarian group. I'm just spitballing here. It looks like she's kind of hanging IV drips, so maybe this is some kind of like field hospital of some kind. I do like how she responds to him saying he's just called the Doctor by saying,
Alright then. I'm called the nurse.
Good banter there, I like that. I think I'm going to like their interactions. They are clearly going to tackle that she is played by the same actress as Mundy in the episode Boom within the story, as Mundy's face appears up on the view screen there, so the Doctor is obviously going to notice that she is looks the same. And I must admit, I'm slightly worried that she'll just be another mystery box character with a disappointing explanation, a bit like Ruby was, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe she'll have a more fulfilling explanation to her mystery box. We'll see. Here we have the TARDIS following that retro 50s sci-fi spaceship, so perhaps the Doctor knew about the abduction and is deliberately following to help Belinda, or perhaps he was following the ship and he didn't know Belinda was on it and he'll come across her later and it's kind of just a coincidence. This is also what makes me think she's maybe been abducted. It's the same clothes on the people as the retro ship bridge shot from earlier, and she seems to be being escorted into it. The red robots have a guard feel. We've heard about those before, the red robots. I think they're going to be a big part of the episode.
You need to get me home.
Something in the Disney Plus description, as I said earlier, the description of the whole season mentioned not being able to take Belinda home. So this feels like kind of the setup to a season-long story arc rather than a one-episode thing. I hope it is. A reluctant TARDIS traveller is something we haven't really had in the modern era, and I think it's an interesting way to go, potentially. A brief couple of shots from the 50 set episode here, which I think might be episode 2 if I'm remembering correctly. Some nice banter between the two of them there.
You're Scooby-Doo.
Honey, I'm Velma.
This is possibly a different view of the retro rocket, or maybe a different one from the same planet. It's clearly landed by this point. The buildings in the background look like the ones from a shot from the teaser trailer that we'll see again in a moment. I had speculated when the teaser trailer came out that these were Dalek buildings, but I think now this quite clearly throws out that idea. It's obviously some kind of planet whose tech and architecture very much mirrors the kind of 1950s Earth sci-fi aesthetic, it seems. We get a quick shot of them in some kind of market, combined with scenes that later on, I think this is probably set in Nigeria. I'll come back to that in a minute. And dancing on the TARDIS. She looks like she's having fun by this point, so maybe that reluctance to be there goes quickly. Although I do hope that the inability to take her home stays for the whole season, and that forms somewhat of a story arc. And then we see them both in the same gear as the military-looking people from earlier, but the TARDIS is right there, so perhaps it's less covert infiltration, more of a standard kind of turning up, getting involved. They even say, kind of introduce themselves here and say they're just along for the ride. So this seems to involve some kind of space dive into some kind of trench on a planet. So maybe they're investigating something. Maybe they've teamed up with these people because they know these people are going to investigate something and they want to get in on that and find out that too. Then it's on to Space Eurovision. I actually quite like Eurovision, actual Eurovision myself, but I can't help but be a little apprehensive about this one. I was really looking forward last season to a full-on musical with The Devil's Chord, and we didn't quite get that. And also I wasn't massively keen on the one full song we did get last year, so I am tempering my expectations this time, which, might help me enjoy it more than I enjoyed The Devil's Chord, because a large part of the reason I didn't enjoy The Devil's Chord wasn't because it was a bad episode, it was mostly because I was hoping for one thing and I didn't get it. So if I temper my expectations here, perhaps that will help me enjoy it more. It's got Rylan in it though, and your reaction to that's going to vary on how much you enjoy watching Rylan on TV, but he's not one of my favourites. He's playing one of the hosts of Space Eurovision Song Contest, or Interstellar Song Contest, I should say. This is apparently one of the most expensive episodes the show has ever made, so I at least expect big spectacle from it. And it looks like Mrs. Flood's in the audience, so I'm looking forward to her mystery being unravelled a bit more this season. We get the soldiers again on a very dark and depressing, industrial-looking place. The vibes are definitely very still dark here. And these are freaky, painted face things, I think, based on the texture behind them, that matches with something from earlier. They might be faces painted on the spider, which is what led me to my earlier thought that the spider somehow absorbs souls, perhaps. And they appear on its body, trapped in this kind of visage of screaming faces. The cartoon, out of everything, I think I'm most looking forward to seeing what they do with this. This looks like it's when it's out in the real world, as Belinda and the Doctor's legs can be seen behind it. I hope it's around like this for most of the episode, very much like Who Framed Roger Rabbit's vibes, with real characters interacting with cartoon ones. I'm looking forward to that. Then we see it escaping from the cinema screen. We've seen that before, and some of the audiences in the cinema's reaction to that. Here we get a wall of missing people posters, which looks to be the same episode as the market from earlier, based on the building style and the Doctor's costume. Seems to be a lot of people going missing from this place. I think I heard there might be an episode set in Nigeria, so it's possible that this is that one, and I think some later shots tie into that and also reveal possibly why they are going missing. In fact, these scenes from the barbershop, but one that possibly gets transported to another plane of existence somehow, because behind that door, obviously everyone's getting kind of almost pulled out of the door. The room is tipping, and behind the door, behind the Doctor there, as he's hanging out of that door, kind of looks like the spiderweb structure from behind the giant spider creature. So is this possibly how the victims' souls get stolen via the barbershop? So all of those missing people's posters, were they people that went into the barbershop and got, sacrificed to this giant godlike spider creature? Then we get a few clips from probably the Ruby-centric episode, like, they like you scared. She seems to be on a date, but there's a creature's limb coming up behind her partner's back. Is this maybe a creature that the unit had locked up in that lockup? Has it escaped? Or maybe one of its species, maybe a bunch of its species have come to try and set it free, and this is how they work. They want people scared. Maybe they feed off scaredness or something like that, feed off fear, or their food. Humans taste better when they're scared, possibly. And can they not be perceived when they don't want to be? Because this kind of feels like more people would be reacting if there was a creature coming up behind this person. But, there's no screaming or anything like that in the restaurant. So do they have a kind of camouflage type effect? Either way, Ruby seems to know something about them. I reckon this is going to be a very Doctor Light episode, possibly. The Doctor won't be in it at all. Maybe at the end of the episode he contacts Ruby or something like that, but I think this is very much a Ruby on Earth centric episode at a time when the Doctor for some reason can't return to present day Earth. Then we're back to previously seen shot of a city, which I now think is from the world that loves its 50 retro sci-fi, and not the Daleks as I had previously wondered. It looks like someone's attacking the robots here. I'm going to go on a guess and say that's some kind of rebel group that the Doctor and Belinda end up teaming up with, hence the underground base from earlier. The Doctor and lots of other bodies are being sucked out into space by the looks of it here. I think those pods that we saw just at the very beginning of that shot look like the seating areas for the song contest, so I think this might be the whole audience getting sucked out into space. Doctor looking very much like he's making a point hitting the Sonic. Angry face exploding robot. And here I think this is the venue of the song contest, with its roof exploding and presumably when the audience gets sucked out into space. Some kind of organic ship maybe, and he's passing through some kind of translucent barrier like he's walking through liquid. This looks like them escaping with the potential rebels, maybe just after a fight. One has clearly been injured, so maybe it's just after that fight with the robots. Big hug. She clearly warms to him. Our best shot of the giant spider yet. This might be one of the pantheon members, one of the gods that they've been introducing over the last year and a half. And I might have heard it also ties into Nigerian local mythology. So there's an entity, a god from Nigerian mythology, which might be playing into this, and that might be that. It's certainly visually impressive. Another few shots from episodes with the military battle suit type things, and the Doctor looking shocked at something. The TARDIS flying away from Earth, possibly when it's chasing the retro-looking ship, and then we end on Belinda on some kind of glowing walkway. And there we go, our first full trailer for Season 2. What do you think about the things I've spotted? Are you liking the darker tone? And what, if anything, did I miss? Let me know in the comments below. And why not check out my instant reaction to the trailer as I was watching it for the first time by clicking on the screen now.